Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more Legacy action. Today, for our midweek meta deck, we are playing Red Stompy. This is a list that was piloted by Ice9 Big Fan to win a Legacy challenge. Now, Mono Red Stompy has been doing pretty poorly since the Entomb ban, to be honest. It always used to be one of the most played decks and it's really dropped down, but it's actually been doing a bit better of late. If we look at the stats from this week, Red Stompy, despite only being 4.8% of the meta, managed to get 10% of all the top 8 slots. So that's pretty impressive, and it's one of the best performing decks this week in particular. So let's have a look and see why that might be the case. I think the Eldrazi deck becoming more popular is definitely having something to do with it. And this deck has some reasonable play into things like Dimir Tempo, where you can just shut them out of the game quite early with something like a Blood Moon. So this particular build, as most Red Stompy builds are these days, are an Urza Saga build. A while back they changed the rules so that Blood Moon doesn't just make Urza Saga goes away, it just kind of locks into whatever chapter it's at. So if this is learned how to make constructs, and then we play a Blood Moon, then we just get a construct factory for the rest of the game. But this is pretty much just all the hits that you've come to expect from Red Stompy. We've got ourselves some One Rings, and Fable the Mirror Breakers, Broadside Bombardiers and Pyrogoyf and Fury to control the board. Chalice is one of our Prism pieces alongside 8 Moon effects, and then a little modest Urza Saga package, as well as these Chrome Moxes that we're going to be using to power out our spells early. And honestly, that's pretty much it. Just got our City of Traitors, Ancient Tomb, nothing super out of the ordinary here, just some good old-fashioned Mono Red Stompy. Sideboard, we've got some big graveyard hate. We've got a sweeper that can also hit artifacts, and sometimes just dome our opponent to the face. We've got some Dead and Gones, which can allow us to bounce things like Murktide Regent, or possibly a Pyrogoyf, which is one of the things that is causing our deck trouble, generally speaking. So maybe the 4 copies of Dead Gone alongside having a bunch of creatures like this means that we might be able to get through the Pyrogoyf, and that's why the deck's doing a little bit better now. And then we've got 4 Null Rods for things like Storm or anything like that that we need to be worried about. And also Karn Ring decks, which do exist, which are pretty sketchy for us. Okay, that's pretty much what we're playing today. So remember to like and subscribe, and let's just get stuck in with Ice9 Big Fan's Legacy Challenge winning Mono Red Stompy. The new year is here, and what better time to clear out your unwanted cards than now? My lovely sponsors 3for1 Trading are buying all Magic cards and collections of any size. They will quickly appraise your collection and give you a fast, non-binding ballpark figure so you know what you're working with right away. They buy collections from anywhere in the world. You can ship them cards, arrange a courier, and they even make in-person visits for large collections to offer full peace of mind. Click the link in the description or visit 3for1.gg/sell-COW to start unloading your unwanted cards today. Our opening hand here for the first round does make a turn 1 Magus of the Moon. That seems worth doing to me. I would like to get our Magus of the Moon making our Urza Saga better if possible. So maybe if we can draw a piece of fast mana or something, we can do something a little bit different here. So I would like to get this Urza Saga up and running first. But just playing a Bombardiers out on its own isn't that exciting. Our opponent can fetch to get something decent that plays around our Magus a little bit here. So just slam the Magus might not be the best play. We can't go Saga, Chrome Mox, and play something out. We could just go Chrome Mox, City of Traitors into... I think we could just play out the Urza Saga and just start running that up. And then we can play the Magus of the Moon around a daze next turn. I think that probably is our best bet here. Because when they have a fetch down here, they can just go and get a blue source. And then it's going to make our life a little bit awkward with this Magus of the Moon. But this way they might get a Surveil Ladder end step instead, which gives us a nice little line to shutting them off of things. I'm by no means a dedicated Red Stompy player. I very rarely play this deck, but we're going to do our best to navigate with it today. Because we can just play out the Saga, the City, and start cranking out Urza Saga constructs. Which is pretty good against sort of fair tempo decks, generally speaking anyway. A Brainstorm. This is probably digging for a Wasteland, because Urza Saga can get pretty out of hand. They don't know what sort of Urza Saga deck we are. We could be like a Pinnacle Stompy deck. We could be some sort of Beseech Storm style deck. Obviously Mono Red Stompy. There's quite a few options available. Polluted Delta. Are we cracking this and playing something? If they think we're a Pinnacle Stompy deck, they're not going to play around Magus of the Moon. Okay, this is good. And a Ponder. So now we can try and stick the Magus of the Moon with our Urza Saga, knowing how to make constructs. And if this resolves, the chances of us winning this game are incredibly high. Opponent's got 5 cards in hand. For this Chrome Mox, what am I going to put under it? I think I'm just going to put this Fury away. Because I would like another bite at the Magus of the Moon, since our opponent's only fetch non-basics, if this goes wrong for us. get the City of Traitors in. 1, 2, 3. Can I have this Magus of the Moon? This is a force of will or lose the game moment, I think, for our opponent. Right, they did have the force of will. They pitched a Murktide. I'll play this Soulguide Lantern. We'll take out one of their instants so that we can reduce the size of a potential Murktide. We could just strip this out to make sure they can't Murktide. Do I like that? Our hand is pretty good, actually. I think we're just going to stop them having a Murktide. Murktide and Pyrogoyf are basically the things that cost us this game. We're not getting the value out of the Saga, unfortunately. But we did put our opponent to test. They could take out our City of Traitors because we have another disappearing land. They did not do that. So we're still going to be able to have 3 mana on our next turn. We're just not going to get the tutor. 3 cards left for our opponent. If we just slam this Blood Moon. Would I rather have a Magus? I think I would rather have the Blood Moon because if our opponent has a Fatal Push, they can just... I guess they can't Fatal Push this because they don't have Revolt. Alright, we'll go for the Magus actually. Because this can put a clock on the game as well. Like, if they have Brazen Borrower, they can just float the mana and bounce this anyway. Alright, we've successfully set up a lock against our opponent in terms of what mana they get to use the rest of the game. They will have to find their 1 of basic island or 1 of basic swamp to be able to cast spells. Okay, they have their swamp. Here comes Pyrogoyf, which will probably just solo us out, to be honest. We can hopefully draw a land and play this One Ring. We did not draw a land and play the One Ring. We could... No, we can't do anything here, right? Because this doesn't tap for enough mana. Right, let's get this Chalice of the Void in. Pyrogoyf is one of the reasons Red Stompy is not very playable right now, or hasn't been for a while. It's been doing very well this week, of course. But generally speaking, the mono Red Stompy deck struggles a lot against this Pyrogoyf. We need more mana. We can't draw a soul land unless we chump block here. I don't want to unlock all their mana. So we're going to have to let them get an extra card, but that card is hopefully one they can't deploy because we have this Magus of the Moon locking them down. If they draw a Pyrogoyf here, then we're in trouble. But we're very close to locking our opponent out of this game. But they just happen to have this swamp that caused us some troubles. They didn't mill over anything. Bring back, but they have now got a 5/6, so we can't even kill this with a Broadside Bombardier. Ancient Tomb doesn't quite do what we need it to do. 1, 2, 3. I don't think we're winning this race, but we can at least give it a go. We don't need to play around days now because they don't have any islands. But they do have Orcish Bowmaster they can cast and a bunch of removal spells. And Orcish Bowmasters. So we're going to take out our Magus of the Moon here. Oh, no, they're going to take out our Broadside Bombardiers. I think it's better for us to... So we could just take out the Bowmasters right now using this Chalice of the Void. And then we can continue attacking with this. I think that's what we have to do because drawing Fury is one of our outs here. So I take out this Bombardier, this Bowmasters, fling in this Chalice. So I locked out all their cantrips anyway. The one thing that was locking down was the Fatal Push. But it's going to be very hard for them to get Revolt underneath the Blood Moon anyway. No, that's an illegal block. It's got Menace. That's why we blocked this way. Sorry, that's why we blew it up that way. But we are still losing the race to the Pyrogoyf. But we do have a land getting us the One Ring, which might be enough. And also if we draw a Fury, we are running 4 of them. We can Fury and then fling it at the Pyrogoyf. And that'll give us enough damage to kill the Pyrogoyf. Yep, 6 damages puts us to 10. They get to dig a little bit deeper. We don't want to see another Pyrogoyf here. Another Orcish Bowmasters is problematic for similar reasons. The Orcish Bowmaster can't actually block the Bombardiers though, because their Orc army is tapped. This is just going to get bigger instead. Can we get a land, please? No land. 1, 2, 3. Get this down. So if they Bowmasters us, we go to 9, and then they have 7, 8, 9, 10. So we can't even attack here. And this One Ring just doesn't really work anymore because we're not going to have enough life to leverage it. Pretty much just been soloed out by Pyrogoyf. If it was like any other single pip creature, we'd have been fine. Our game against Dimir generally relies on making sure Pyrogoyf doesn't hit play. I wish we hadn't got rid of that Fury ages ago. C'est la vie, I suppose. We can now block with our Magus of the Moon. So attack with these two, I assume. Yep. We need to chump block here. We have to keep back this Broadside because that's our only way of dealing with the Pyrogoyf. Land or Fury, please. A Chrome Mox. That kind of counts, doesn't it? Let's get this Blood Moon underneath this. Play the One Ring. If they've got Forcible Blue card as the last 2 cards in their hand, then sure, you got us, opponent. That's pretty much what it has to be. If we draw cards with this, the Bowmaster will ping us, though. I think we attack first, and then we can do this next turn. I guess we could make a land if we tap it now. We've got protection, so the Bowmaster can't do anything to us. Okay, we've drawn the Fury. That is part of how we get out of this one. We need to draw a red card naturally next turn. Have they got another Bowmaster in hand? If they got the third Bowmasters and then they finish off the Broadside, then sure. They did not have that. So this is 8. So this deals 7 plus 1, and then 3 damage on this or 1 damage on this. Unfortunately, they don't have to attack here, do they? Which is annoying. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we just cast this for regular mana. We put 2 damage, or we put 3 damage on this and 1 damage on this, right? And then we throw the 1 ring at the Pyrogoyf. And this goes to attacks. We draw from the 1 ring here. Oh, are you kidding me? You got the third Bowmasters. Yeah, that sucks for us. We can't afford to not kill this Pyrogoyf. Now the Fury can trade with the Orc Army on the crackback. This is tough. All because of that swamp that our opponent had after we worked so hard to try and lock them out. So ping this. We draw 2 cards because this uses last known information. Oh, sorry. We only draw 1 card, right? Because putting the counter on is part of the resolution. Okay. Fury versus the World. But our opponent can't play many spells. They've only got 1 more Bowmasters maximum left in their deck. Which is very much a load-bearing swamp. I wonder if we drew a Sundering Eruption, if we'd even use it on this swamp, though. We've certainly wriggled our way into a spot where we're not immediately dead, which is certainly better than the spots that I thought we were going to be in, given the last few turns of this game. No attacks. Hallelujah. Something is happening. So this Fable Mirror Breaker can eventually start copying Furies, which is pretty sweet. 1, 2, 3. Let's make our Fable. We can't attack here because they'll just take it because they're on such a high life total due to their Pyrogoyf. So there's now a clock on this game because once we start doing Fury stuff, we can go pretty wild. Because we can end a turn, make a Fury, kill out this Bowmaster, and then attack with a Fury. If they don't block it, they take damage. If they do block it, then we Fury and kill it, and then we just rinse repeat every turn. Are they willing to trade their Bowmaster army yet? No. Okay. I don't really want to loot any cards away given their Bowmaster here. I guess we go no response. And I don't want to make this into a 6-6. Like we could make it into a 6-6. But then if they have another Bowmaster, all of a sudden it's a 7-7 and they win on the board. So I don't think we can afford to use this ability. Can, however, make another one. This means that we can eventually copy Fury twice. And I don't have to tell you how good that's going to be against our opponent's board. They might have to make an attack just so that we can't copy the Fury, just try and get us to chump block. And I think we do just chump block with the Shaman token here and save the Fury. Nope, our opponent hasn't decided that's where they want to go with this game yet. Sundering Eruption. I can unlock blue mana for our opponent, but I don't really want to do that. Let's make another guy. We're very, very close to actually winning this game. The power of Blood Moon compels us. So draw another Pyrogoyf. It's going to be at 8, which means even double Fury doesn't kill it, which is pretty terrifying. They might have something like a Bitter Triumph and they can just kill the Fury in response to us trying to copy it. So this is going to flip as well now. And then we can go get this in. So we can keep this Sundering Eruption because it means they won't be able to block our creatures if we have just like one big alpha swing later on. I think the upside of trying to copy the Fury here is pretty large, so let's do that. I kind of want to just throw this Fury at this, but I'm not sure we should be doing that. We could throw a treasure at this, but if they have another Bowmaster, we get a little bit jammed up by that. I think we are just throwing the bonus Fury that we have, just to make sure that this is 100% dead and our actual Fury gets to live, because there's no way they can kill this actual Fury in combat with just black mana. I think that's a little bit cautious. We could have just thrown the treasure and kept the Fury and hit for more damage. But I don't think that's really the problem we're going to have in this game. I think we just need to make sure that we're ticking all the boxes and grinding our way through. Because we're very far ahead, we just need to avoid loss conditions. No play from our opponent. We get to make 2 Furies and our opponent probably dies this turn as well. Let's have another Fury. We won't shoot anything. Another Fury. Won't shoot anything. This is 6, 12, 18. So we have enough that we don't need to attack with everything in case something really weird happens. We just attack like this. This is very, very lethal. Okay. Wasn't sure we were going to win that one. But we got our hooks in, we locked them out, and then that was enough. I think this is where we require some dead and gone, so we can bounce out the Pyrogoyfs after we lock them out of the game, maybe. Fiery Confluence is unlikely to be able to kill their stuff particularly well, so I don't think we want that. I don't mind having a Soul Guard Anthem to 2/4 here. What do we actually want to play instead of these? Chalice is pretty good against our opponent's deck. I do like the Blood Moon still. They can't cast Murktide Regent underneath Blood Moon, which is a big deal. This also takes out Bowmasters, but it doesn't take out Bowmasters if we have a Chalice for 1, which is important to note. Are we going to shave some stuff, I guess? Could maybe shave like a Magus of the Moon. I think we need the Fury. Pyrogoyf never kills their Goyf, so it's not actually as good as you might think, but this does dome Italia, but so does Fury. Fury can sometimes kill Pyrogoyfs. I'll take out a Pyrogoyf here. Take out Blood Moon. They're going to play around it a little bit. And that leaves us one more card. Is the One Ring a liability? I don't think it is a liability. It's just so powerful. We need this sort of effect. I don't think we can afford to take out any more threats. We've taken out 2 creatures here. We could trim on Chrome Mox. Let's try that. We don't want to get flooded with Chrome Moxes. Our opponent might have stuff to deal with them here. Okay, this is a turn 1 Blood Moon, if we want that. Our opponent probably fetches an island straight away. Apologies if you can hear one particular bird in my garden going absolutely wild right now. You gonna go fetch a basic? Or is this just a hold up surveil land sort of game? I think I would rather get this Ancient Tomb in and get this Chalice the Void going, since they have 1 basic land confirmed. If they daze this, we can pay, and then they're going to be set really far back where they don't get to do anything on their next turn. Just straight up Force of Will, pitching Force of Will. A nice little hint to Turak on turn 1. So depending on what lands they get, we can play either a Blood Moon or this Fable Mirror Breaker. I think it's very unlikely our opponent doesn't fetch a basic here. Yeah, so there it is. And they're going to have Hydro Blast, which is another reason it's important to try and get the Chalice down first. We can try and assemble some aggro. I think it's just best to get the Fable going. It's the most powerful thing in our hand, like, as a single card. Let's play this and pay 3 life. Ouch. Our mana base is hurting us a bit, but I'd like to play this around a daze using the Simian Spirit Guide, which is why we're taking the life here. A blue Elemental Blast. Yep, that's very good. A very fine way of ruining our day there. If our opponent doesn't have access to a basic swamp, we can try and cut them off of Pyrogoyf using our Blood Moon, which might also save us a little bit of life moving forward with this Ancient Tomb. But again, the problem is there's going to be a bunch of Blue Blasts and Hydro Blasts in their deck. Okay, they've got the basic swamp, so Blood Moon is not useless, it's just going to stop very few things. Okay, I guess how big is this? 5/6, that's quite large. I would like to get this Bombardiers in, I think, though. Playing around days. We might be in a situation where we start casting these Simian Spirit Guides to be 5 damage, which isn't enough to kill an opposing Goyf yet. But we can Pyrogoyf plus... Well, interesting they didn't go for like a block here, they're just going for the damages. So we can Pyrogoyf and Dead together to kill a Pyrogoyf, regardless of what size it is, because this will always do all of its health bar 1, and this will always do the last point of damage. Okay, they've got 1 card left in hand. What are we seeing here? This looks like a Kaito to me. Now, Pyrogoyf is pretty good at killing Kaito. Or do they bounce the token or the Bowmasters? Depends how much value they're trying to extract. Because obviously, if they bounce the token, it's gone forever. Okay, they just got this little guy in now. Let's not ruin our day with something really scary here, opponent. Our own mana is definitely a problem in terms of how much damage you're taking. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gets Pyrogoyf in. This just straight up domes the Kaito and takes it out of play. And then we have this Broadside Bombardiers that can just crack in for a little bit. Obviously, when we start dealing damage, we deal enormous chunks of damage. We get 1 activation of our Ancient Tomb. We have this Surprise Dead Gone, which might do some real work here. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have lethal if they just tap out for a Pyrogoyf here, because we can bounce it. Okay, they got 1 card left in hand. Blue and black. Okay, here is the Pyrogoyf. So this gives us the win, I believe. Actually, no, because they can block this, can't they? Is the problem. Chalice the Void. So we could just take this Pyrogoyf out once and for all. So this is 5 damage. So if we play out the Magus first, our opponent's got no cards in hand. Play out the Magus here. This gets flung for 2 damages. Sorry, for 5 damages at this. And then we finish it off with this. Can we afford to attack with this? They can hit us for 1 on the crackback. I don't think they have any way of dealing 1 damage outside of Bowmasters. So we just don't want to die to Bowmasters. So I think we just attack with a broadside. Fling this, and then we dead this. This is an instant. This is 5, 6, 7. I'm not going to change the creature, the power and toughness of this, am I? There's already... there's no creature in there, right? There's no creature. If we sacrifice this creature, this will go up to being 8 toughness. Huh. That is awkward. Which means we have to sacrifice our Pyrogoyf to kill this. I was really hoping to not have to do that. Interesting. Okay, so if we attack with the Pyrogoyf and the Broadside Bombardiers, if they block the Pyrogoyf on the Pyrogoyf, you just get the damage off and kill this potentially, and maybe just play a Chalice post main phase and kill this if we want to. Okay, so I think that's what we're doing here. If they double block here, then we just kill this and the Bowmaster, and then we try and kill them in a couple of turns. So these two come in. They have to block here, otherwise they're dead. And I don't know why they wouldn't block with the Pyrogoyf here. So this is going to deal some damages. Let's cast Dead on this. Playing this. And damages can happen. We trade. And then I have to decide what cards can they have that jam us up here. I think it's probably just worth getting the Chalice in next turn. We could play it now and kill this. But I think we're better off just letting them have a random draw because we know they don't know the top of their library. Playing the Chalice and then slowly creeping in again and again with the broadside. I don't think they attack here. They've got a Bowmaster or a Kaito. Maybe they think about doing that. Urza Saga is an acceptable draw, but not an exciting one. Let's get Chalice for 1 in. Could be a Brainstorm. I think if they had a Brainstorm, they would have cast it in their turn. It's going to be a Red Blast on our Bombardiers or something. Oh, Consign. That's also acceptable. I think we have to keep the pressure up. We're not dead to any one single card our opponent has now. Not that I'm aware of, at least. Seems they kill the Magus. They only get him for 1. Thoughtseize. Okay. We weren't going to really deploy this card anyway. I guess it gives us... If we let our Magus die, we can tick up our Saga. Maybe do some stuff there. Fable the Mirror Breaker is an excellent draw here. This gives us 2 blockers for our opponent's stuff. I think we might have turned the corner here, team. These have actually been pretty good games with some real back and forth. Now, the game isn't over yet, and our opponent does have access to both their colours still. It only takes 1 Pyrogoyf and then we're in the dirt again. No play from our opponent. That doesn't mean they don't have anything. They could have things like Consign and Red Blasts. I'm obviously not going to do anything here because our opponent has access to Orcish Bowmasters that's going to ping us. So we will not cycle any cards. Right, we're in the beginning of combat step. Our opponent is looking to kill one of our guys here because there's a big pause. Is this Bitter Triumph? Snuff out. Sure. I will get a treasure for my time here because we've already established that they can't kill us with 1 card when it's just Bowmasters versus Magus. And we're going to be in the Fury, Fable the Mirror Breaker end zone soon. Which means they can't attack with a Pyrogoyf once this is online with a Fury. Because we can just make a Fury that deals enough damage to it to then also block and trade with it in combat. Nothing from our opponent there. This is going to flip. It's a Chalice of the Void. I really don't want to get cooked by Daze this late in the parade. We're going to attack with this Shaman token first and see what happens. And I think we just get the Chalice in instead of playing this Fury into a Daze and feeling really sad when they Daze it. Thoughtseizing into our Chalice. Interesting. Do they need something in their graveyard for that? Like, if you're playing in paper, you 100% do that and just test your opponent to see if they remember their trigger. Because that's sort of the situation they're in. Another one of those. I don't want to play into this Daze. So we'll attack with this Shaman first. Get ourselves a little bit of treasury action. This also means that we can copy the Fury once it's in play. 1, 2, 3, 4. They can't Force of Will this. They could have Hydroblasted it, but didn't have a Hydroblast. Actually, no, they couldn't have Hydroblasted it because of our Chalice of the Void, actually, right? So the only thing they could interact with it would be Daze. I think we have done enough here. They just need to draw runner. Actually, they don't even have time. Unless... No, they needed to have a Bowmasters right then and then untap draw Bowmasters, right? Okay. Whew. We managed to get the win there. We really slogged it out for it, and we finished on a quite low life total both times. But the power of our sort of mid-game is quite strong when we get everything going. Alright, on to round number 2. Round 2. We have a slightly slower hand, but it's still a pretty good one. We have an unwastable land into a 3-drop, and we have many choices of which 3-drop is best. So I will keep this one. Well, you don't want a mulligan to just making sure you have a turn 1 3-drop. We're not an initiative deck. That's basically what they have to do. They have to... If they're not playing with 4 mana by turn 2, they'd lose the game with initiative decks. Whereas we've got a little bit more agency here than that sort of deck. We've got some really powerful mid-rangey cards like Fable the Mirror Breaker. Whilst Fable the Mirror Breaker may have been absolutely toxic for Standard or whatever when it came out, it's just a perfectly pitched Legacy card, in my opinion. Right, they're already getting basics over there. Right, let's get a... Is this the bait spell? We can play around a Daze though, so I think I'm just going to go for the Fable. And if they Daze this, then so be it. No, they might just be a combo deck, and they don't care about what we're doing. This Fable the Mirror Breaker has sat on the stack for some time. Our opponent has lost connection with the game, which is why this spell has been on the stack for so long. Hopefully they'll come back in a sec. Looks like our opponent is back. I guess I spoke too soon. Oh no, okay, our spell is resolved. And our ability is resolved too. Okay, let's lock back into this game. They sort of used about 8 minutes of their clock when they were having connection issues. If they're playing a slow controller, this might be a problem for them. We're not going to try and play to that as an out in our games. Because if they're having connection troubles instead of just being a bit slow, it's kind of unfair on them. Right, our opponent is having some issues. They were telling me that their client crashed. But we're now on our end step and they seem to be in a better place now. They've done a brainstorm and they're shuffling away the cards. Feels like there might be some sort of blue-white Felia pile. There's a few different variations, but they're all kind of similar. Have Felia plus Quantum Riddler as like a big game plan. Ancient Tomb. Okay, that suggests maybe Stifle Naught, and they have this to help them cast a Torpor Orb early. The Ancient Tomb is definitely interesting. So now they're just going to be flipping this Tamiyo. Killing the Tamiyo shouldn't be too much of an issue for our deck. The Fury just cleans it up nicely on its own. Chalice of the Void. That's always an interesting one, isn't it? Yes, what are we getting rid of here? I don't want this Blood Moon. We don't need the second Bombardiers. Okay, I like the Saga to land. That's very much one of the things we were looking for. We're in a bit of an awkward situation here because I want to Fury and throw it at this and just get maximum damage this turn. However, if we cast a Fury, I guess we could... If we hard cast a Fury, we run into Daze very easily. We could just attack with the Goblin Shaman and then go for the hard cast Fury. And that way we can play around a Daze. Okay, we'll try that. The other option is to try and do something with Broadside Bombardiers. I think we still attack Tamiyo for 1. We're only missing out on 1 damage to our opponent, but this means they can't... If this goes wrong, they can't bring this back without losing the Tamiyo. They can't get their spells back. So here comes Fury. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hopefully they Daze this. And then we get to blow them out with this Simian Spirit Guide. They've obviously had a look at a decent chunk of cards here. Alright, we get to take out the Tamiyo. That is great news. So we've got a lot of power in play. And we're going to be able to start copying this Fury quite soon. We're going to be throwing Broadside Bombardiers at our opponent. We can lock out Swords to Plowshares next turn using the Chalice as well. Oh, okay, we're a show and tell deck. That explains the Ancient Tomb. I guess we just play a Bombardiers and hope for the best. Omniscience. We're almost certainly dead here. At least I don't think the clock's going to necessarily be the thing that does our opponent in. Because both of our decks want to be relatively aggressive and quick with how we're playing. So we actually get proper games. Okay, so we've got another Atraxa over there. This is creatures without flying can't block, right? So they can still block with this. But we can throw the Fury at this, which will kill it. Our agency is somewhat limited here. They have Orim's Chant to stop us doing anything next turn. And they got the Emrakul right now. That'll do. Okay. Not a bad one for our opponent there. I don't think our Show and Tell matchup looks particularly winnable, if I'm being perfectly honest. What are we supposed to do here? This isn't the Soul Guard Lantern matchup, so we can get rid of that. I guess we try and Blood Moon them really early. Maybe get one dead gone in there so we can bounce it. We can stop some of their bits and pieces with this. The Fury can hit the Tamiyo. That's not the most exciting. Let's get a second dead and gone. So we've got a little bit in case they just go for like Show and Tell, put in Atraxa. They Show and Tell Emrakul and we're just lights out anyway. Yep, I imagine this matchup is very hard. So at the start of this season, I say season as in when Entomb got banned, the Omnitail deck was doing incredibly well and was everywhere, which is probably why Mono Red dropped out, because this deck has a horrible time into Show and Tell. Nope, not keeping that one. There's a Saga, grind in, no red mana. Nope. Turn 1 Blood Moon. That's very much what we need to do here. So Ancient Tomb, Blood Moon, Chrome Mox, something to put underneath it. 2 cards go. City of Traitors is the first. Can we afford to get rid of the second one? Probably not. We need to be able to cast our spells. So we put this under here. This gives us 3 mana. And this gives us 3 mana. Okay, so the Fury goes. Fury's not particularly good in this matchup either. It's just there to deal with Tamiyo. I will take the damage because I don't think the life matters that much. Chrome Mox. We're basically forcible checking our opponent here. They might have multiple islands as well, so even if we do get this down, they've got more chance of drawing out of it than some decks do. Okay, we've stuck the thing we needed to do in this matchup. We identified our only way to really stop our opponent. Polluted Delta. Excellent stuff. We just need to find some pressure and kill our opponent before they draw out of this. I guess I'll play out this mountain, and I'll pass. I'll play out this mountain, and I will cast a Simian Spirit Guide. I think one of the things when you play these sort of Red Stompy decks is to really be aware of how you need to attack every matchup. So we identified very much that Blood Moon is probably our only way of beating this matchup. So we've kind of indexed quite heavily on finding that as early as possible. And so far, so good. Let's play another threat. Okay. Force of Will. Pitching a stock up. I think that's more to stop us having the clock than anything else. Alright, in comes the Simian Spirit Guide. Second verse, same as the first. Here comes Magus of the Moon. If our opponent goes to discard at some point, we get a little peek at some more cards in their deck. Potentially. Because blue-white is an unusual combination for Omnitel. This is not a card that I'm going to be using, I'll tell you that much. Giving our opponent the ability to have everything they want seems bad. We don't need to play this out, we can leave this in our hand for now. Because this will just unlock their blue source and then we just lose to a single blue source, I think. Alright. We're getting somewhere. Let's attack first, and then we'll deploy the Fable. Leave this in hand because it's something to loot away with the Fable. Or something that casts a Fury if we end up in that sort of situation. Any sort of Broadside Bombardier action and we get to kill our opponent. Alright, Force of Negation, pitching Consign. That's fine, we got 2-turn clock anyway. Played a Tundra. That is also a mountain. A very icy, wet mountain. Let's go to attacks. Get Chalice for 1 in. Like, this is a pretty good secondary tool to have against our opponent's deck in general. Did you find the island? They did not find the island, so we did the thing we had to do. One of the issues we have is trying to do this on the draw against our opponent's fetch land mana base is borderline impossible. Do I like these Furies? Does this hit Planeswalkers? No. I just don't want to get bodied by the Tamiyo. I think we do need to keep these in just for Tamiyo reasons. Yep. We can try a turn 1 Blood Moon, but our opponent's almost certainly just going to have an island, and a single island probably just beats us. Unless we have like a really strong draw where we get to punish our opponent quickly. Turn 2 Blood Moon seems pretty slow. I would keep this hand against a bunch of decks. But I think we've already assuming that our opponent's going to have what they need. But maybe they've kept 7. So maybe they just have like a fetch land, sorry, not a fetch land, like a regular land, like a Tundra and a Ponder, and they're looking for their second land. So I think getting the turn 2 Blood Moon might be too slow. We're going to try and go into the turn 1 Blood Moons. I'll take a turn 1 Chalice into Blood Moon with the potential of drawing slightly more upside. We'll put back one of the Blood Moons. Now, yes, this is a City of Traitors hand, which kind of sucks for us. But we only have a limited amount of stuff. Okay, they do have the fetch land here. Interesting. As much as I want to get this running, I think we are just going to try and shut down our opponent's cantrips. Having to use the City of Traitors like this is unfortunate, because we're going to have to get rid of it at some point. They've got their blue source. We're going to get consigned. No, they're just getting their brainstorm off. But they could be brainstorm locked, which is something we're hoping to play towards a little bit. No more cantrips. They might not need any more cantrips, but this can also stop them after they've show and told, or show and told, I suppose. They won't be able to use their cantrips to find the Emrakul and the tracks. All right, we're just going right now, are we? Okay, what do we put in here? Probably the Fury. Let's put some damage on this Traxxer, not that it matters. Just an Atraxa is something we can beat, though. Oh, that's a lot of cards, isn't it? Some good stuff here. Let's see what they choose. I assume it's going to be a stock up. Probably a Force of Will. Force of Will, although they chose the Ponder when we have a Chalice. I think that was a mistake. Ponder, Force of Will, Omniscience, Flooded Strand. I don't know why they took the Ponder there. Now, we might just die to this Atraxa. I say might. Oh, okay, that's a really good draw if they didn't have a Force of Will. But they do have a Force of Will. So how are we supposed to navigate that? Are we just trying to make it more difficult for them to cast other spells? Like, we're going to be losing our mana this turn. We need to play something that makes them counterspell. There's no way this Bombardiers resolves, but it's our only way of getting through this. Okay, let's get the Magus in. This will receive the Force of Will, I think. They'll certainly consider it. Yep, here we go. So the bait has worked. Because we can throw this for 7 damage at the Atraxa. If they gain a bunch of life, but don't kill us, that's also fine for us. I bet they wish they had the stock up instead of this Ponder now. So we need to find a little bit of fast mana so that we can try and deploy our Bombardiers. That is our out here. They might have just taken this as any old blue card, but then they would have pitched it to the Force of Will. But instead they pitched a card that's actually relevant. Unless they think they're going to get rid of this Chalice. Okay, they have one of each basic, but they can't cast Swords, which is the card they probably most want to cast. 3 mana, but white. It's like Clarion Conqueror or something weird. Oh, they're just going to Prismatic Ending. That's why they got the Ponder. Sure, and now they can Ponder. Okay. Our opponent had the information and they made the correct choice for what they were doing. I'm still not sure if you would rather just have stock up, because their deck's pretty good at playing through Chalice anyway. Okay, we don't have the land we wanted this turn. We have one more turn to find a land, and it has to not be one of these tap lands. And that is our out here. If we can stabilize on 3 life, that's pretty good. If they just cast Show and Tell here, then okay, it's a stock up. So I guess they already had a stock up to use. Yikes. Alright, 1 draw to rule them all. Our opponent still has 5 cards in their grip. And the Swords to Plowshares will stop our plan to answer their Atraxa. Tamiyo, we don't care about that for now. We can worry about that later if we survive this turn. It was a land that we can't cast. We've got the GGs, I think, here. I'll show ourselves a door. Yeah, this matchup is a real tricky one, and is one of the reasons why, like, Pyrogoyf and the Omnitel decks were very much dominating at the early part of this season, if you want to call it that. And that's why Red Stompy kind of fell by the wayside. But we've beaten a Pyrogoyf deck already today. Let's go to round number 3. What does this hand do? It doesn't seem too bad. Here we go. Turn 1 Chalice, turn 2 Blood Moon. I'm down with that. And then our Urza Saga will be making all the friends. Savannah. We could just Blood Moon straight away and try and stop our opponent from having any mana for this whole game. And then just win with whatever. I don't hate that for us. Let's go for this Chrome Mox. I will imprint, I think it's the Magus here. And then we're just going to go for this Blood Moon because there might be a like green-white depth deck, and this might just shut off the entire game for our opponent. If they led on a fetch channel something, we could do something differently, but I think our opponent has given us an opportunity to possibly resolve this Blood Moon. There's no chance of days. They didn't have a basic land. This seems strong. We put the Magus under here because they could just float white mana and Source to Plowshares our guy, whereas they can't Source to Plowshares this. We could just get a turn 1 concession, and we do indeed get a turn 1 concession. What is a Savannah going to tell us about our opponent's deck? I don't really know what we're supposed to be concerned with here. I think these sorts of objects are the things that are appealing to me. I don't know if we're a Soulguide Lantern thing. They could be a Life from the Loam sort of deck, so that might be a useful thing to have. Although the main way we shut down Life from the Loam is via the Blood Moon, but they could keep rebuying something like a Boseiju, which would be kind of annoying. Fury seems like it's going to be pretty good here. Same with the Pyrogoyfs. The Blood Moon's just soloed out a game for us. What are we supposed to take out? This is where I struggled a little bit with this deck. They're going to have a bunch of like Force of Vigor style effects, so maybe we trim on these Chrome Moxes a fair bit. That gets us a couple of Dead and Gones for Merit Lage if that's what our opponent is doing. And then maybe we just try and... Like, we could just get some more removal by getting rid of the Soulguide Lantern. Let's try that. Just try and bounce Merit Lage and then kill off all the other guys. And hopefully we'll get more information. Now, there might not be that. There might be some sort of, like, Green-White Maverick style deck. I do like Fury against this sort of matchup. I would like to have a little bit more mana that's of the red Persuasion, but I will keep this on the draw. A basic forest. Exploration. Okay, we just straight up lands here. It could still be Green-White Depths, to be fair. You sometimes see exploration there. We can shut off crop rotation using this Chalice, which I will do. We're not going to play out the Chrome Mox until we're using it, because we would like to make sure that we've got the best choice of which things go underneath it. And also, we don't want it to just be exposed for things like Force of Negation or Boseiju. I guess we don't mind this being Boseiju. It costs us 2 cards. I'd like to get the mana out of it first, though. Life from the Loam, no targets. Got you. Okay. A Tabernacle, you say. A Shatterskull Smashing. Play this out. We'll imprint the Shatterskull Smashing. Deploy this Urza Saga and start cranking out some boys. Let's just try and jam our opponent in the face with some creatures. Obviously, we'd like to find some sort of Blood Moon. Boseiju and Wasteland. Absolute bangers over there. They can't do both. I guess they could Wasteland us and just leave Tabernacle going, and that's reasonable. Yep. That is a pretty good set of stuff from our opponent's hand. Normally when I think of lands at the moment, I tend to think of the mono green build, which is why the Savannah made me think Green-White Depths. This is definitely looking like a lands list. Okay. So they're just playing out the Boseiju instead of using it to blow up our stuff. Can't say I am upset with that. This is our only red source. I'm going to use our mana from our Ancient Tomb for this. And we can still cast red drops like this, for example. Let's get stuck in. I don't think we're throwing stuff just yet, but we have, what, 4 plus 7 is, what, 11 plus another 5. So we have our opponent dead if we find a red card next turn. You can Life from the Loam. The Wasteland can hit our city, but then we can still use the Ancient Tomb to keep our guys alive. If they have double Wasteland, which we don't think they would do, because they probably would have done it last time if they did, because they're only getting cards from their graveyard at the moment because they're dredging Loam. Right, Savannah. Plowshares is off. Crop rotation for like Maze of Ith or something is off. I quite like our spot if we can find that red card. Now, a lot of our deck is red cards. Right, they're Bosejuing our Chrome Mox. That's fine by me. Gonna get our little mountain. There's a Wasteland. They take out our city. We leave us with the one that hurts us, I assume. No, taking out this one so that if we play a land, we lose the land. That's also reasonable when you've got a Tabernacle going. Can we find a red card? Pay. Pay. We did indeed find a red card. So we go to attacks. Put 4 damage into our opponent. And then we pitch cast this. No targets. We throw the Fury at our opponent's face. And this one throws the Broadside Bombardiers at their face. And then they die. Alright, we managed to win the game and the round. That was pretty clean and felt good. Blood Moon, very nice into lands decks. Getting the free win on turn 1 is always nice to see. Let's go to round 4. What do we have here? This opener is not sparking any joy. I think we can find something a bit more interesting. Or alternatively, we could not find anything more interesting. We do have 3 mana on turn 1, but then what are we doing? Like, we could just go for the Blood Moon and have 2 mana sources available so that we could maybe try and curve out from there. I think that's fine. What do we throw back here? Probably the Pyrogoyf. I think we go for Sundering Eruption, Chrome Mox. Okay, our opponent's just in F6 town over there. I think we put the Blood Moon underneath it. with the intention of just casting the Magus of the Moon. See if we can just get a free turn 1 win. Any land gets us the Broadside Bombardiers, then we're clocking for 4, which is reasonable. I don't really want my opponent to scoop, necessarily, because I'd like to kind of get an idea what they're doing. Alright, they're just scooping it up. That doesn't give us any information. I think that means we just send it again. We don't have any information. The main deck is geared to play into the blind, and we're playing into the blind, so here we go. I don't like this hand at all. We don't cast any spells, really. Okay, we can keep this one. We can go like turn 1, land, turn 2, Fable, or Blood Moon if we think that's going to be really good. I don't think we want double City of Traitors here. Let's put one of those back. Thespian Stage. Oh, we just in lands again. Alright. I'll play my basic mountain and I will pass. So we can't be wastelanded. Next turn we can jam the Blood Moon. A wasteland. Okay. Just colourless mana over there. I think the Magus is harder for them to deal with than... I guess they don't have green mana. They could have Force of Vigor here, though. I'm going to go for the Magus, though. Because they don't have any removal colour mana up right now. Now, they might be playing Vibrance. That is a new card that is seeing a lot of play in these lands decks, which might change things. Okay, so they Vibrance this, and then they kill our thing. Malevolent Rumble. None of those are Vibrance. I think this turn, if possible, I'd like to Sundering Eruption our opponent's Dark Depths. I got the Vibrance in hand. They did have the Vibrance, so we just cast the wrong one. We're not dead, actually, are we? Because we have... No, we don't have Dead Gone in our deck, do we? Alright. Yep, the new card. I didn't even mention it as a way out. And there we go. So now we know we're on lands. We would like some of these. We're trimming on the Chrome Mox and the Furies want to go here. Actually, more than the Chrome Mox, I think. Something like this. I could play Leylines to stop their Life from the Loam shenanigans. I think I'll take a Leyline. Is that... No, that's wild. Let's not do that. I think we beat them using the Blood Moon is our plan for a lot of that stuff. Vibrance was good. There will be some Vibrance decks on the channel. I think there's one coming out tomorrow. What am I doing here? I don't really like this very much. We've got some like absolutely game-ending turn 1 stuff we can do. Alright. I think we keep this one. What are we going to put back? Second city, but we might need the second city. This is our only red source. I don't really want to get done. Okay, we'll put back the city. And we'll start off with this land tapped. A Boseiju. An exploration. That's a good one. A wasteland. Ugh. Rest in pepperonis. Us, I guess. Chrome Mox. Maybe not. City of Traitors. Chrome Mox. Imprint. I think we imprint the Dead and Gone here. So that we can just do 2 Magus of the Moons and then they can't break out of it very easily. This is our answer to Marit Leisure. So if they just go Dark Depths, Vibrance, we die. Okay, that was not the things I said. A land so we can get this extra one in? No. Let's get our little Chalice of the Void in. Shuts down some of their options. Ghost Quarter, Wasteland. Those aren't Dark Depths. Can we just find some mana, please? We can. Play this. Get a second Magus in. I think we are quite likely to win this one now. If we get a third Magus in, then I think our opponent is just not going to be able to come back from that at all. I'm not expecting sweepers out of our opponent's deck. The way they deal with multiple creatures is usually Tabernacle. They're not going to have random Pyroclasms. I have a 2-turn clock here. And we get to deploy a Blood Moon as well. Just for good measure. This is when you say no to your land's opponent. There's the Dark Depths. Can they get rid of all of our Blood Moons? We got the GG in chat. Alright, 4 rounds down. A pretty nice 3-1 so far. We lost the show and tell, but otherwise doing quite well. Let's go into the final round and see if we can get a 4-1 on the board. Our final round is against Phil over there. He could be playing literally anything. A turn 1 Blood Moon is pretty cool. I will keep this. And see if our opponent just doesn't get to play Magic the Gathering at all. We do have kind of a threat to follow up with. It only deals a little bit of damage, but does actually clock our opponent if this shuts the game out completely. We could just play this as our turn 1 play, and then we can start clocking straight away. I don't hate that for us. Right, they've gone down to 6 cards. Let's go for Ancient Tomb. slap down this Magus. How do you feel about that, opponent? This might just solo the entire game, or it might do next to nothing. Ooh, okay, step 1 is good. Let's go attacks. This is where we get dismembered, I suppose. Play this Chalice. Our opponent might be thinking about whether or not they're scooping. Because by preserving information, they can get an edge in the sideboarded games. Because they're going to know pretty much what's in our deck. Daze and Force of Negation. So what decks have main deck Force of Negations? Blue-Black Tempo does have main deck Force of Negation quite often. Some of the bigger Controlier decks do. And they're not playing out any other lands. Let's go attacks. The little Magus that could. Double up on Blood Moons. If the first one's good, the second one should be a nice bit of insurance. And then we can hold this one if we want to, so that we've got cards to pitch to a Fable the Mirror Breaker later down the stretch. Underground Sea. Our opponent does like playing these sorts of decks that we're playing. I think I'm okay to just play out the City here and crack in for 2. And I'll hold these cards to pitch to Faith is Looting. Maybe we end up... Sorry, not Faith is Looting. The looting effect on our Fable the Mirror Breaker. We can still use this Sundering Eruption to push damage at some point. Let's just get stuck in here and pass it over. Here we go. Here's the big beta that you all came to see. Simian Spirit Guide. We've doubled our clock now. Okay, they got a swamp. This is where they play Pyrogoyf and we die, right? Oh, Fire Nation Occupation. So this is a 3 mana. When this enchantment enters, create a 2/2 red soldier creature with Firebending 1. Whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, create a 2/2 soldier. I saw Phil play this on his channel, so I've kind of have an idea of how this pans out. It is a 2/2. Shatterskull Smashing. So they're going to get another guy every time they do that. They can't daze this. Just keep pushing damages. I don't know if they're going to have any instance they can play for 0 mana here. We're getting close to the stage where our Sundering Eruption can maybe do enough to force through damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can't do both. I guess we're just going to crack in with this. Do we come in with both because we have the Blood Moon already? I think we do. An Orcish Bowmasters. Yep. Pretty solid. This also gets them a Fire Nation token. And then all of our pressure is gone. We did have the option of deploying a Sundering Eruption on the swamp that turn. That does unlock blue mana for our opponent, which is kind of scary. Alright, they've got blue mana anyway. We have a lot of pressure in our deck. We just need to draw it. Kaito? No Kaito. Alright. Katara. The Master of Waterbending. Obviously has a lot of synergy with doing Fire Nation stuff, which is a bit of a weird lore one since, you know, she's not a big lover of the Fire Nation. What are we doing here? How many basics do I think our opponent has? Can't be that many, right? And we've got days here, have we? We won't pay for this, obviously. I think we're just going to try and take out their black source here. They can't daze anymore. We could have used this last turn to try and push damage. I think might have ended up being the correct play to do. Oh, they got another swamp. Okay. I'm glad we didn't do that. Maybe... No, this is just awkward. We can just draw a Pyrogoyf and probably win, right? Instant land... sorcery creature. That's only 4. That's not quite lethal. Yeah, maybe we could have used the Sundering Eruption the turn before to push damage. I'm pretty sure Sundering Eruption affects creatures that come into play after it's resolved. Because it's just like a thing. It says... It doesn't say... actually, I'm not sure, maybe. It's just like a little rule that goes into effect for the turn that creatures without flying can't block this turn. Our opponent is pretty close to winning this one now. Maybe we can draw some of the sweet gas in our deck. I guess we just hope they don't have a daze here, because this card is pretty backbreaking if it resolves. We're going to brainstorm looking for an answer. Okay, we got the daze here. Yeah, our opponent's engines are up and running. It's going to be very difficult for us to get anywhere. Consider this is just more instant speed cantrips for the old Fire Nation Occupation and Katara. Really trying to leverage these two cards in a big way. They're pushing their own soldier token for the purposes of growing their experience. They can draw more cards with Katara. So seeing that as a cantrip instead. Because it replaces itself with a guy anyway if they cast it on our turn. Which is pretty neat. So now they draw 4 and discard 1. So we got creature, instant, sorcery, land. Still not able to get lethal Pyrogoyf if that's what we have. But our opponent almost certainly has some force of will action. Well, let's play a busted card and hope it works. Alright, we got consider. Yep, they're going to be drawing 4 additional cards next turn. And they also have a whole bunch of damage. But we're hoping to fog the damage and then just kill our opponent with something next turn. Alright, very nice. So the turn we didn't Sundering Eruption might have been the thing that cost us the game there. We could have definitely done that, just trying to get our damage through. I think this works on creatures that come into play this turn. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I'll check. Okay, I would like some Fiery Confluence to sweep out all their annoying little guys. That seems like a good place to be. I think this is a Soul Guide Lantern matchup. This is good. Everything else seems fine as well. Lavaspur Boots seems reasonable. These seem good. Are we trimming on Blood Moon effects because our opponent's less bothered by that post board? But if we play it on turn 1 on the play, it's just going to be savage. We need a couple of cuts. There's also, do we want these for Bowmasters to make our Wanderings better? I don't think we need it when we've got Fury and Pyrogoyf. The fact this doesn't kill Katara is pretty annoying. I think just having this big doming effect is stronger. I think maybe we take out a Lavaspur Boots, and the last cut is tricky. I really don't know what our last cut is supposed to be. Do we board out a 4-drop against the Daze deck? Arguable. Maybe I'll just take out Chrome Mox. I like taking out Chrome Moxes. Turn 1, Chalice. It's going to shut off a bunch of our opponent's things. Wastelands are in our opponent's deck, but we just have to live with that. We could go for Urza Saga next turn and try and get the lock with the Magus. Force of Negation, pitching, consider. So we got 2 for 1. There is an island. There is a Tamiyo. Not my best friend. Another Ancient Tomb. So I could just get a Blood Moon in now, but I don't really like the Blood Moon that much. I think I'm just going to play out this Urza Saga and pass. Yeah, I think not pushing damage with the Sundering Eruption in the previous game could end up costing us this match. I should have expected Bowmasters more than I did. Alright, we're going to take 0 damage from Tamiyo, and they're going to get a clue. They're going to go and get their basic swamp, and they're going to play Katara. I'm going to play this, paying a life. We're going to try and get this Blood Moon in now so we can just set up with this Urza Saga factory. Because this allows us to dodge Wastelands for our opponents. Now, they've got Hydroblast in their deck 100%. So they're going to be able to clip this whenever they draw it. Alright, they have another force, which is then going to start a loot train on Katara. And now we're not getting value out of our Saga, which is kind of one of the problems with Saga in this deck, in my opinion, is that like sometimes you're supposed to grind this, sometimes you're supposed to play things, and you don't always know which is the right one to do. Yep, they have 2 card advantage options in play. Now, one of them isn't card advantage just yet, but this will draw them an extra card, which means they can flip the Tamiyo by cracking a clue if they wish. And I think they probably would like to get a clue going. A Pyrogoyf. Well. Do we ever beat Pyrogoyf? 1, 2, 3. Okay, I guess we try and beat the Pyrogoyf. This has to float mana here. We only have a Chrome Mox to get, which puts in this Sundering Eruption. Play out this Ancient Tomb. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. So we can't kill this now, right? No, we can. We can do 5 damage to it, right? Is there a sorcerer in the graveyard right now? Oh, there's not a sorcerer in the graveyard. That's going to suck for us. If we want to... I guess we have to Chrome Mox this to get the extra point of power to our thing. Yuck. Okay. Because this sorcery will go into the graveyard and it will mess everything up. We just shoot this one, don't we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why is it not letting us cast this? Well, it has to be 12, doesn't it? Because it doubles. There we go. Our opponent knew exactly what we were trying to cast there. Because I've seen everyone who makes content at some point has tried to resolve a Shatterskull Smashing for 6. Now, we're a million miles behind here. They've got 2 free clues, plus this other clue coming this turn. They get to loot one of their cards as well. They can flip the Tamiyo this turn and start racing to the moon. Yikes. Our opponent is drawing the card first because this means they have more stuff to loot away with the Katara, which I think makes a lot of sense. At least we're not taking huge chunks of damage yet, which is nice. Our opponent's deck can obviously produce quite a lot of bodies, though. They're very good at going wide once they get the thing going. Okay, that's a blank. We're going to save this in case we can loot it away at some point. We're very poor at drawing action. We draw another Pyrogoyf. We can kill it if we draw a Shatterskull Smashing. A Force of Will just to lock in whatever they can do. Yikes. This also will fuel the Katara and turn it into a card advantage engine if we cast anything into it. A Blood Moon. Is it even worth casting this Blood Moon? I don't think it is. Well, they're just drawing at end step. It won't be long until we're dead in the water here. It's not a good state of affairs where if we cast a spell, it's bad for us. We could draw Urza's Saga. That's probably a pretty solid draw here. Because we can start cranking some tokens out in time. They can get the Fatal Pushback. How much mana do we have? 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. We're not going to counter our Blood Moon is the problem. 1, 2, 3. We play the Blood Moon. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tap this and this. 1, 2. Let's play the Blood Moon. We have 2 mana left over. 3, 4, 5. We're not playing around days if we do that. Are we supposed to play around days? We know they've got Force. I don't think we play around days here. Because then we get another draw. They're not going to counter this. They're just going to let it go. And then we Fury. Unless they've got so many counters it doesn't matter, which is also a possibility. And they might just want to get the tokens on the Katara. Okay. That is awkward for us. We cast this. They get to draw extra cards. We don't want that to happen. We need to double spell next turn. Okay. Our opponent knows full well that we're trying to bait that. And that is lethal. Alright. That is the end of our league. So we finished with a 3-2 record. And our deck looked pretty good most of the time. We could have played the last game against Phil slightly differently in game 1, and maybe that gets us a game 3. The show and tell matchup looked horrible. The only way we had any chance was turn 1 Blood Moon on the play. Bit scary. How do I feel about Red Stompy as a deck? Honestly, it seems fine. It seems to be doing better at the moment, I think, because there's been, if we just pull up some stats, there's been a bit of an uptick in Eldrazi lately, and Eldrazi doesn't particularly like playing against Blood Moon, so that's pretty handy there. The Ocelot Pride mid-range decks are doing pretty well at the moment as well, and lots of Furies can do a lot of work against them, and lots of board control off of the Broadside isn't too bad. Lands, obviously, ticking up gives something to prey on with our deck as well. And the games against Blue-Black Tempo are kind of a weird one, because we either can lock them out, as we managed to do, or we can just get blown up by them having Pyrogoyfs that are just bigger than what we're doing. If Pyrogoyf didn't exist, I think Red Stompy would be a pretty good choice, but the fact that it does exist gives so many decks like a free win against us, and that is a little bit worrying. But, you know, the deck is tried and tested. It does its thing. It can do some very powerful thing and create non-games. What it's doing is very much a legacy power level thing. Congratulations to Ice9 Big Fan for actually putting a win on the board with it. If we look at the last 11 weeks worth of data, it's only got 2 challenge wins. But it's slowly ticking up now, so maybe it's going to be getting there soon. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a little bit out of my wheelhouse. I'm not really the Mono Red Stompy guy. But we had a good time today. We Blood Mooned some people, and I do enjoy making people miserable. So if you want to see more of that, remember to like and subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything, and it supports me. If you need cards, 3-for-1 trading. And if you want to look at some more of my data that I collect, check out my Patreon linked in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.